Well, hello, this is Brandon Mestock. This is the week 4.2 mentor response, and I love the video response option. I'm going to try to do that as much as I can. But Pastor Emer and I met together today. He's a Hispanics pastor here at Christ Wesleyan, and the reason I picked him, and it didn't work out with another guy that knows Spanish in the Hispanic community, so I wanted to keep it in that realm because I wanted to see if, because of the different culture, and he grew up in Guatemala and spent his first 50 years of life there. So I think it's really cool, especially this week we learned about spiritual disciplines and to see how those relate and differ from growing up here in America. So I was excited to do this one. But we met today, June 4th. I know this isn't due till next week, but me going to Ireland, this is the best time for me to do it. But we met from 2:30 to 3:30 right here in my office, right here at the church. And we both kind of agreed we're pretty busy, but we're doing really good. God has blessed us tremendously. And then I jumped right into asking him about what he thought about spiritual disciplines. And I just first asked him, hey, what do you think spiritual disciplines are? And he responded with prayer, worship, and fasting. And those were pretty good responses. And then I proceeded to tell him, let me have you think about a few more than the ones that you just mentioned. And then I kind of explained to him about meditation, prayer, fasting, and studying as parts of this inner discipline. I told him that I kind of stink at meditation and asked which one he kind of stunk at. And he said that he's not really good with fasting. He's not too sure really the point of giving something up or sacrificing something for God is really meant to do. He's not really convicted to do that. And I explained to him, well, I don't know if you need to look at it like that with sacrifice. One, scripture kind of tells us to develop a prayer and fasting lifestyle. But for me, it's having a dependence on God by doing without something. Here in America, we are very blessed. We have a lot. Our faith really, if we think about it, isn't too deep because we don't really rely on God for a lot of things like our next meal or shelter or clothes or money. Sometimes we need to humble ourselves by going without, not really sacrifice. And I think he liked that. He liked the humility part and not really putting so much sacrifice into it. But it could be, after our meeting, I kind of thought, growing up 50 years in Guatemala and not having such an extravagant lifestyle, maybe that's a reason that he felt differently. He didn't really have to try to go without or try to fast because naturally he had to rely on God and develop that dependence on God. While I challenged him like that, he kind of challenged me with prayer too. He said that he and his wife, Jeanette, pray for their relationship and their kids, and that's kind of all they pray about together. Then when it comes to ministry and the personal items, he saves that for his personal time with God. But he also said something fascinating about how he studies. He reads both English and Spanish books, which is really, really cool. He's really intentional about doing better at this English. He would say he's not really that good at English, but he really is. But he prepares his sermons by not using other people's languages or their thoughts about it, and doesn't really use a lot of commentaries. He uses meditation for his sermon prep. And I like that because our book says, meditation is desiring God's voice above all else, and how God can divinely, personally tell us maybe what we need to tell our congregation, but he relies on the specific message to his specific flock. I thought that was really cool. I like that, how he explained that. And then I explained to him the other disciplines, the outer disciplines of simplicity, solitude, submission, and service. He really struggles with simplicity and service. He wants his family to be his first ministry, with his congregation second, but he finds it really hard because of all the attention that other people give him from his church and his congregation. And I just told him, have you ever thought about simplifying your ministry by delegation and delegating some of these responsibilities to some of your leaders? He's like, I'm not really good at delegation. And after talking about that, I kind of offered him a solution to simplify his ministry so he can accomplish his goal of putting more into his family. And by focusing on more of his flock, not both English and Spanish, but maybe some of his ministry, because he does Saturday for us as a whole church while trying to do his Spanish church, which is probably about 80 people. He's in charge of. And I said, well, what if we take that Saturday away so that then throughout the week you can just focus on your Spanish congregation? He really liked that, so he wrote that down. He's going to talk about the powers that be, which are not me right now, to see if that's even possible for him to do. But we ended our meeting with, both agreeing that we need to be more intentional about our discipline and how we can be better leaders by being more intentional about these disciplines and establishing all 8 of these disciplines. A lot of times the internal will lead to the external ones, but by having all of them, we're going to be so well rounded in our reliance on God, and just that fact can help us out to being better leaders to our congregants. So thank you so much for this opportunity to do this video. I think it's a really cool way. Hopefully you have a good week, and we'll see you next time.